we will present you our project Life Cycle Strategic Plan of Indinavir, or original name Crixivan by Merck. In 1981, on June 5, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention published a morbidity and mortality weekly report describing cases of a rare lung infection, pneumocystis carinii pneumonia in 5 young, previously healthy gay men in Los Angeles. All the men have other unusual infections as well, indicating that their immune systems are not working, to have already died by the time the report is published. This edition of the MMWR marks the first official reporting of what will become known as the AIDS epidemic. In 1982, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention uses the term AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, for the first time, and releases the first case definition of AIDS, a disease at least moderately predictive of a defect in cell-mediated immunity occurring in a person with no known case for diminished resistance to that disease. In 1983, the scientists in France, led by Luc Montagnier, first discovered the virus that causes the disease AIDS, a virus called LAV, lymphadenopathy-associated virus, which means that they associate virus with the lymphatic system. The same year, Robert Gallo from the United States has confirmed the existence of the virus and called it HTLV3, human T lymphotropic virus type 3. It revealed the relationship between CD4 T cells and viruses. In 1986, the two terms LAV and HTLV3 were revised with HIV. In 1987, FDA approves the first antiretroviral drug, zidovudin, a nucleoside analog reverse transcriptase inhibitor. In 1988, the World Health Organization declares December the 1st to be the first World AIDS Day. In 1995, FDA approves the first protease inhibitor, sanguinavir. This ushers in a new era of highly active antiretroviral therapy. By the end of 1994, more than 1 million AIDS cases are officially reported. World Health Organization, however, estimates the actual figures as many as 4.5 million. The number of HIV cases as of the middle of 1995 is estimated to have reached 14 or 15 million. AIDS became a fast-growing problem worldwide, but the majority of patients lived in Africa. As we can see, the number of patients in South Africa was 8.5 million. It was more than a half of the total AIDS patients. But health system in Africa is weak and people are very poor. So Africa wasn't the biggest market for antiretroviral drugs. That Over the last few years, much progress has been made in improving access to drugs, vaccines, and diagnostic tests in developing countries. Addressing the global access to medicine problem demands the collaboration of multiple international and national stakeholders. However, there has been no consensus on the role of the pharmaceutical industry in this effort. The Access to Medicine Index has established to address this gap by consulting multiple stakeholders, including the pharmaceutical industry, on the role that the industry can play in improving access to medicine in societies in need. The index is a relative ranking. It does not evaluate companies against aspirational best practices, but provides a comparison between companies. European companies in general have a longer history operating in emerging markets, giving them a lead on Japanese and American firms that relied for many years on local markets for sales. GlaxoSmithKline with general index 3.8, Merck & Co. with index 3.1, and Novartis with index 2.9 emerge as the top three companies respectively. All have improved in their transparency, performance, and commitments to access to medicine. While they'll still have a long way to go to realize their full potential, both for improving access and for exploiting the growth opportunities in the developing countries, they have proved to be some of the most innovative in the sector. They have also been unique in taking risks and experimenting with new business models. It should be emphasized that Merck & Co. ranks top among the originator companies. But let's go back in 1995. AIDS was a new deadly disease which spreaded fastly. Patients didn't have a long life. People didn't know all ways to protect themselves. There were some medicines like zidovudin and didanosine, but there was also drug resistance. So people were scared, and pharmaceutical companies competed who will produce the new drug and take a position on the newly opened pharmaceutical area. On this slide, we can see all antiretroviral drugs in USA and Europe until 1997. Both rows show group of drugs called HIV protease inhibitors, who opened a new era of treating HIV infections. It is HAART, highly active antiretroviral therapy. The usual HAART regimen combines three or more different drugs, such as two nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors and a protease inhibitor. From 1995 through 1999, Merck introduced a total of 50 new drugs, including Clexxivan, the most complex molecule Merck had ever synthesized. Merck isn't the only who had produced HIV protease inhibitor. Competition was strong. French pharmaceutical company called Roche got approval from FDA for Sanguinavir 1 year earlier. On March 1, 1996, Abbott Laboratories placed ritonavir. Merck filed for accelerated approval for Indinavir on January 31, 1996. The company received its license to begin selling the drug on March 13. It was the fastest approval in FDA history. As we can see, Merck was fastest than Auguron Pharmaceuticals, who got approval for Nelfinavir 1 year later. Through clinical tests showed Merck had the most effective drug with the least side effect. It had the disadvantage of being the third entrant into the protease marketplace. The company established its in to resume. Merck's top three rivals was Roche, Abbott Laboratories, and Auguron Pharmaceuticals. Indinavir was drug with least side effects and the lowest price, but it was a follower, not pioneer at the market. Merck had spent 400 million on all its AIDS research program by early 1995. This was not just for the development of Indinavir. It was for all of its research and development into AIDS drugs, both one that worked and the several that failed, vaccines, etc. But developing is just the beginning of drug life. On this scheme, we can see that there are many other factors that influence the success. Some of these factors are legislation, medical insurance, promotion response, market channels, market